Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of AndrewsFootball.com. I've got the 7th best Super Bowl team of all time. Now, see, when I first started doing this, I knew that I had to put this team on my list. I just couldn't figure out where. And now putting them at 7 and looking at this team, I'm almost thinking, man, do I have this team way too low? Because this is a great, great football team. Now, of all the teams I've done so far, this team has 9 Hall of Famers, which is more Hall of Famers than any other team I've covered so far. But the thing about this team is the toughness of this team, the physicalness of this team. It's also a story behind this team because this team lost the 3 previous years in the conference championship game to the team that ended up winning the Super Bowl. So you can make a very strong case that this team was the second best team in football for 3 consecutive years before winning the Super Bowl this year. Like I said, it was the physical toughness of this team. Now, there's plenty of stats that break down how great this team was, but what really can't be quantified into a statistic was the intimidation factor and just overall toughness of this team. So, bottom line, this team took pride in being dirty. So, a little shout out here of the starter gear in case you couldn't figure it out. I'm talking about giving a shout out here to Al Davis and the 1976 Oakland Raiders, the greatest Oakland Raider team of all time, and my 7th greatest Super Bowl team of all time. Now, I'm going to read off some stats here. Cliff Branch, who should be in the Hall of Fame. Look at this year, first team All-Pro, by the way, 46 catches, not very many, but for 1,111 yards and 12 touchdowns, basically 3 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown averaged every single game. That alone is impressive, but combine that with an offensive line that's the best left side of the offensive line in NFL history, Shell and Upshaw, arguably the greatest blocking tight end, and Dave Casper also had 10 touchdowns this year. Pitcher Ron Gronkowski, except a more physical, tougher blocker. Oh yeah, don't forget, I got a Hall of Fame wide receiver layered in Stickum on the other side. You want to see some great catches? YouTube Fred Biletnikoff, and you'll notice that orange stuff, it's all Stickum. Purely illegal now, but back then you could use it. And by the way, this is also Ken Stabler's best year. Now, Stabler in 74 won the NFL MVP, but every single statistic in 76 is better. The only statistic that's not better is he threw a few more interceptions, but he had more yards, he had more touchdowns. His completion percentage, he led the NFL this year in 66.7. It's almost 10 points higher than it was in 74 when he won MVP. But what's really clutch about the Snake, and by the way, how cool of a nickname, Snake. 4 game-winning drives and 3 fourth-quarter comebacks. So when you talk about a Hall of Fame quarterback basically playing his best when he needed to, it was really this year that he played his best football. Now, the thing about this team is that the defense has 2 Hall of Famers and 1 Pro Bowler. This defense will not be mentioned as one of the greatest defenses of all time, but they really were. You have to understand something. Atkinson and Tatum, they took pride in knocking players out. They literally did this. Atkinson famously knocked Lynn Swann out of a game, gave him a concussion. Obviously, you can't do that in today's game. So when you talk about the greatest teams of all time, this is kind of downgraded. But back then, it was not only accepted, it was loved. Raiders fans loved this. So you have this great defense, which kind of downplayed nowadays. Behind this great offense, you have 5 Hall of Famers on this offense, plus you really should have a 6th. Cliff Branch should be in the Hall of Fame. There's no reason he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But it's the cohesiveness of this team, all right? John Madden, 75.9. That's his winning percentage, number 1 of all time. Does anybody remember that? No, they remember Madden, the video game, which is understandable. I mean, who doesn't play Madden? But you have Madden, the number 1 winningest coach of all time, coaching this physical smash mouth team that's got the number one deep threat in the history of the NFL. All right, picture Tyreek Hill running against this bunch of slow white guys. That's what you got. And then you have a Pro Bowl tight end. You have a Pro Bowl wide receiver who catches everything. All right. Ask any Raider who's ever played with Fred Biletnikoff, and they'll say the exact same thing. He never dropped a pass, and he was layered and stickum. By the way, Fred Biletnikoff was MVP of the Super Bowl. He wasn't a Pro Bowler this year. He was 33, kind of winding down his Hall of Fame career, but still came up big when he needed to. That's why he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Eventually, Branch will get there. And then when you talk about great teams, they beat great teams. The 76 Patriots was a great football team. Beat the Raiders in the regular season. Gave the Raiders their only loss of the year. Beat them 48-17. They play them in the playoffs, and the Raiders beat them. Now, if you're a Patriots fan back then, you'll remember if you're a Patriots fan, you're calling it a bad call because there was a very questionable call that extended, basically gave the Raiders a first down. It was third down as an incompletion. It would have been fourth down. They would have had to punt or go for it, but instead it was a questionable call that gave the Raiders a first down. Of course, 25 years later, the Tuck rule happened, so payback. But they ended up beating a really great team in the New England Patriots. And then the 76 Steelers, now keep in mind, the 74 and 75 Steelers won Super Bowls and beat the Raiders in both conference championship games. So in order to advance to the Super Bowl, they had to beat the Steelers. Almost universally, every NFL historian will tell you the 76 Steelers is the greatest defense of all time. Well, the Raiders beat the 76 Steelers in order to get to the Super Bowl. And then in the Super Bowl, they played the Vikings. Now, keep in mind, the Vikings went to 4 Super Bowls in 7 years. They went to Super Bowl 4. Where did they go? Super Bowl 4. Did they go to 8 and 9? Yeah, they went to both 8 and 9. Wait a minute, that's not right. I'm sorry, I got my list mixed up here. I made a mistake here. They went to Super Bowls 4, 7, 9, and 10. Okay, my mistake. My mistake, made an error there, but keep in mind, they beat a great Vikings team. The Purple People Eaters, several Hall of Famers on that defense. Fran Tarkenton, Hall of Fame quarterback. They had Sammy White, Pro Bowl wide receiver. People aren't really going to remember Chuck Foreman, but this guy was a really, really good running back. If he was able to stay healthy for a few more years, he would have been in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but he wasn't. This Raiders team beat some really great teams in order to win a Super Bowl. You can make a very, very strong case that this Raiders team is one of the greatest teams of all time. Matter of fact, while doing some research, I'm not going to say who it is, they had a thing where they put all the teams, played them against each other, and the 76 Raiders won the whole thing, crowning them the greatest team of all time. However, in the championship game, they ended up playing a game that I wouldn't even, they played an opponent against that I wouldn't even consider one of the 30 best Super Bowl teams of all time. So that's why I'm not giving a lot of validation to that. And now I have to explain to people why I have the Raiders ranked above my Chiefs. Here's the deal. Al Davis drafted Sheldon Upshaw with the specific task of being able to block Buck Buchanan, the Chiefs' Hall of Fame defensive end, the first player by the Kansas City Chiefs inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This team was actually designed to beat the Chiefs. So, and not only that, this team had more Hall of Famers than the Chiefs, but when I tried as hard as I could to put the Chiefs over the Raiders, but here's the thing. When they beat the 76 Steelers in order to get into the Super Bowl, they basically proved that they were capable of scoring against a team with a great defense and beating a team with a great defense. The offense of the 76 Steelers, I could argue, is better than the offense of the 69 Kansas City Chiefs. They have more Hall of Famers. So that's kind of where I'm at. I do think the 76 Steelers would have beaten the 69 Chiefs. It breaks my heart to say it, but it's true. I'll also give a special shout out here to Al Davis. This is easily the Al Davis model of how to build a team. You're physical on both sides of the ball, but then you have the fastest player on the other side. Also, if you want to see an iconic moment, there's Old Man Willie just running down the field. I will say one thing, it's kind of unfair because they played this game in the Coliseum in Los Angeles where the Vikings were coming from Minnesota, obviously used to the cold, had to play in warm climate, and basically, even though they were the home team, let's face it, what team's really the home team between Oakland and Minnesota and LA? So I will say that. So if you, hey, listen, if you have some arguments about this, are the Raiders at 7? Are they too low? Should the Chiefs be in front of them? Please let me know. Put the comments in there. And by the way, if you see this, there's a little subscribe button there. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people of all time. Wait till next week where I'll reveal the 6th best Super Bowl team of all time.